But in all of that, you know, everyone thinks about controlling people as really where these projects were going. We're about how to manipulate people in such a way as to get them to do certain things. But it was much more than that. In the last few months, as I've looked at the issue more intensely, I've determined that it's probably had more to do with consciousness, the analysis and study of human consciousness and the latent capacities of human beings that were being discovered that, quite frankly, scared the hell out of the military establishment. I mean, things like telekinesis, telepathy, things that we call, in the old days we used to call ESP. Today they call anomalous human capabilities. That's how it shows up in the military literature. It's creative, but I mean, it says the same message. But what they discovered was that some of these things could be stimulated. And they were using drugs and many other ways of doing it. And I think once they recognized the potentials, it really scared them. And I'll tell you why in a few minutes. Over 4 trips into Europe, we were initially supported by conservatives, later the Social Democrats and Greens, and we formed a coalition. So by the end of the day, these resolution sections passed by the highest margins of any of the sections within that security and disarmament resolution. And part of it was, when we were to testify, we were supposed to debate NATO on the applications of HARP and also on non-lethal weapons. And NATO refused to appear. They said they had no policy on non-lethal weapons and they had no policy on ionospheric modification for weapons uses, which was the stuff of HARP. So we opened the hearing with two documents, one called Ionospheric Modification for Weapons Applications, produced by NATO France, unclassified. The second document was by the Strategic Studies Institute in London, discussing the deployment of non-lethal weapons for over a year throughout NATO Europe. And so what we suggested to the committee, because we certainly wouldn't expect NATO to be lying, we said, well, if they don't have a policy, then they're reckless, because here's the documents to say they've already deployed these systems. 8 months later, they had a policy on non-lethal weapons developed. Instead, they said the way we bring these technologies forward, this is in 1989, mind you, is with an environment of fear, predicated on international terrorism and international drug trafficking. Now think about it, since 1989, how many column inches have been dedicated to those subjects? What would happen? You know, and this is where it started to really affect me when I think about government advancements in this area and what they discovered. I think they discovered these underlying capabilities weren't just in unique individuals, they're in all of us. Now, what would make government more nervous than being totally transparent? They got a lot to hide, because there would be a lot of people that should be hung by the neck for what they've done. Now, why is that important? How many have read anything about Persinger's work? How many have read Persinger's work on magnetic field effects for stimulating things like out-of-body or abduction experiences? Anybody read any of that material?
Yes.
Okay. Persinger was able to take people within a laboratory environment. He made a helmet that was set up with a bunch of magnetic solenoids that he could trigger in certain ways, and people would have these complete experiences that were, I mean, down to those fine details that we hear reported on abductions and out-of-body. Now, Persinger's conclusion, and I believe he jumped to the conclusion, was, see, it doesn't mean anything. Well, I don't believe that. I don't think we can come to any conclusion except, okay, we can stimulate this effect. I mean, that's the conclusion we can come to. What is that effect? Does it mean that somehow consciously we pierce some veil? You know, is our reality just this physical framework? I mean, we just talked about sound a minute ago. You know, there's a lot more sound in our environment than we ever perceive. There's a lot more of everything that we never perceive. You know, from our visual sense, you know, they're talking about augmenting sight these days so that we can get the infrared and the ultraviolet and all of this, you know, increase the spectrum of vision. You know, some creatures can already do this. But the question becomes is, did Persinger just stimulate something chemically within the brain, or did he stimulate something that linked that individual to some other dimension of reality? Now, if you read some of the more advanced physics that's being fielded, mainly out of the Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, out of Russia today, you might come to a much different conclusion. Perhaps it stimulated a gateway. Perhaps it opened a gateway into some other dimension of reality. And
when people ask me, how many times has CSETI had contact like this? Thousands of times, and I'm not overstating it, thousands. It's beautiful. Look at this weirdness, and watch what it does. Not an airplane. Boom. See what it did? It came in, boom, poof. And that was very close, right over the beach. Now, while this was going on, there were some federal rangers harassing me, trying to run us off the beach. And the ETs came in, and they were my guardianships, I know that. When I go to the Pentagon, there's a phalanx of ETs that accompany me, and the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them. Because they're like 18 feet tall, they make me look like a little wuss, you know. Spending a week with me is a frightful experience. Okay, now, shock and awe. Let's see, cosmic shock and awe. We did this one. Now I want to talk about another level of this, and this is a more complex one than what I've shared. And that is the electromagnetic systems, human-controlled, that affect consciousness and the human experience. Back in 1994, I met a man who headed up a research and development effort in the 50s. And he had developed an electronic system so that you could put on a headset and alter anyone, not a trained psychic, but anyone, so that they could remote view through consciousness the field of mind any place on Earth. He offered this system to me as the director of CSETI, the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, because our prime mission is to create a time of universal peace and open contact. And we use remote viewing, but we use the more innate capability, meditative faculties, as you probably know. And I said, no, I don't want that, because that's going to lend itself to being misused. And he says, you're very wise. It has been misused. So after he developed it, the CIA set up a front company, I believe he called it Alphametric Corporation, that bought this technology and then took it in subterranean and has been developing it ever since. So he said, you know, we developed this so well that we can target somebody with an electromagnetic field that has embedded in it like a script or a hologram or a series of experiences, like a lucid dream. And that person will believe it's real, and it'll be indistinguishable from reality. And I am quoting now from this senior scientist. He said, it is so good that if we want you to have a personal conversation with your personal God, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, whoever it is, you'll have it, you will think it's real, and you will absolutely pass a lie detector test that it happened. That's how good it is. Now that was fully operational in 1956, 60 years ago. So now you combine that with the conventional stuff like MK Ultra. Everybody know the song? Muse, the rock group did a song called MK Ultra. But the MK Ultra stands for mind control, K like German control. And it was acknowledged CIA program. It came out during the Senator Church hearings back some years ago in the 70s, I believe. And they were using, what they acknowledged through those hearings was they were using LSD and other things to do mind control. The part of it that did not get acknowledged in the church hearings on Capitol Hill is what I'm discussing now. That was kept secret. And that's the electromagnetic systems. Some people call these radionic and psychotronic systems that can affect consciousness. They can also affect biological systems. They can induce cancers. They can induce heart attacks. They can do a lot of nasty stuff with these weapons. And they have. Let's go to the next one. It's a very interesting thing that came out not long ago. It's from the Daily Mail in the UK. But it was an article about this, this new electronic warfare system. And I actually talked about this 20-some years ago, but they're just now bringing it out, and it's kind of almost like Star Trek, but it's something you can put up that basically knocks out all electronic communication. Oh, the next, you have the next one? And it just gives you the idea that if this is being reported in the regular media, or even tabloid media, this is at least 30 to 40 years old, this. And it's basically a platform that can float over an area and knock out all electronics, not only in a city, but over a battlefield or what have you, using pulsed microwaves. Now, this is not talking about scalar. This is pulsed microwaves. But when you pulse microwaves in a certain way, it can cross over into this longitudinal effect, and it can have an enormously destructive result. And this was actually getting reported. So if this is being acknowledged in the media, it means that it's at least 5, 6, 7 generations old. So and then they have implants. Now the implants, if you look at the implants that are being made, EG&G and a group of other high-tech electronic firms, E-Systems, have been making these in Siemens for decades. If you look at the tape we just released posthumously from a guy named Pollock, disclosureproject.org, top secret guy. He had worked with a man who developed back in the 70s some of the implants that they began to mass produce. Siemens made about 2 billion of them at the time. And these are implants that are RF frequency, radio frequency, and they both connect to satellites, but they can receive signals. And they can affect on a scalar level of what are called psychotronic and radionic type of effects.
Diane is the winner of Channel 5's Britain Psychic Challenge. And from a young age, Diane Lazarus, also known as Diane Lloyd Hughes, first experienced the power of her amazing gift by seeing, hearing, and speaking to spirits. And since then, Diane has learned to control her gift and can switch it on and off at will, which is amazing because a lot of psychics that I've talked to cannot do that. Today, she is rated in the top 5 of professional practitioners in the sphere of non-physical science worldwide. What that really means is she's one of the top 5 psychics in the world.
Of course, I am the youngest of 4. And why me at the end of the day? Why was I seeing all these spirits? Why was I seeing my great-great-grandfather and nobody else? And I was dyslexic as well, which obviously that was different. And because it is abnormal what I do, there's no doubt about that. And I'm the one with a head which is in pain because I've worked so hard.
Yeah, get the psychic headache.
Yeah, dehydrated, headache, quite a serious pain as well. Of course, you use the muscles in the brain, in the head, which people don't use, you know. And it is quite serious. But one thing I have found out, you know, by using my own gift, most psychics have a thyroid problem, which are because of the third eye and the pineal gland, which is behind it, which creates a problem with the thyroid too.
And how, do you know how it causes a problem with the thyroid?
The only way I look at it, because the gland is actually behind. If you spoke to a doctor, I have friends which are doctors, because I use my gift to see medical things as well. It's actually behind the third eye, where I would open my third eye up. So it's affecting the thyroid. They should do a program on that, actually.
Affecting the thyroid. So that is something I've never heard before. That's interesting. I'll have to look into that.
Definitely, because you'll find that the top psychics are the ones that have thyroid problems. Because even on the Psychic Challenge, there was the last 4, everyone else had a thyroid problem. It's quite interesting.
Welcome, Barry Trower, to White TV.
Thank you. Yes, I started in 1960. I studied microwave, all aspects of microwave warfare with the military.
In Great Britain?
In Great Britain, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Microwaves during the Cold War were used, as they are today, as stealth weapons. They are perfect weapons because people do not know they are being targeted. And any government can and has targeted individuals, and you can cause serious neurological damage, serious physical damage, and of course cancers.
And change the mind.
Easily change the mind. And it is a perfect weapon because most of the time you don't know you're being attacked. And a tremendous success for a government is if they pick on a lady or gentleman unsuspecting and they can pulse that lady or gentleman's brain.
Yes, but there must be a kind of technology. My research in mind control gave me a clue when the victims told me, the targeted individuals, the first thing we do when we feel they are microwaving us, we go into a Faraday cage.
Yeah.
And that is not a success because they are still targeted. And how is that working? Because usually an electromagnetic wave is not passing through a Faraday cage. And then I got the hint that, oh no, they are using scalar waves based on neutrinos. And then, of course, neutrino can pass.
Yeah, because it has no charge.
Yeah.
So it can go straight through.
So in some way, not every technology, but some of the technology targeting people must be based on scalar waves.
If you target the adrenal glands, you will get adrenaline, natural adrenaline produced in the body. That has the effect of speeding up the heart, speeding up the reactions. For instance, 6.6 pulses or modulations a second can induce sexual aggression in men. Other pulses can make you feel suicidal. Other pulses can make you indecisive, lethargic. You can have pulses that will affect your vision because it interferes with the natural frequency of the eye. You can affect the heart quite easily. You can affect the glands.
Make a heart attack.
Oh yeah, yep. You can also affect the glands in the body and change the hormone levels that will then change the behavior. So I did this for 11 years. I mean, I knew then about 30 pulse frequencies. Now they have a list of about 600.
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I mean, the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.
People do not know they are being targeted.
I was dyslexic as well.
Serious neurological damage.
I was dyslexic as well.
Neurological.
I was dyslexic.
Neurological.
But one thing I have found out, by using my own gift, most psychics have a thyroid problem.
You can also affect the glands in the body and change the hormone levels.
Most psychics have a thyroid problem.
If you target the adrenal glands.
Most psychics have a thyroid problem.
And change the hormone levels.
Most psychics have a thyroid problem.
Target the adrenal glands.
The top psychics are the ones that have thyroid problems. Because even on the Psychic Challenge, it was the last 4, everyone else had a thyroid problem. It's quite interesting.
And change the hormone levels.
The top psychics are the ones that have thyroid problems.
And change the hormone levels.
Because even on the Psychic Challenge, it was the last 4, everyone else had a thyroid problem.
And change the hormone levels.
And that's the electromagnetic systems. Some people call these radionic and psychotronic systems using pulsed microwaves. Now, this is not talking about scalar. This is pulsed microwaves. But when you pulse microwaves in a certain way, it can cross over into this longitudinal effect.
About 30 pulse frequencies. Now they have a list of about 600.
In fact, on a scalar level,
some of the technology targeting people must be based on scalar waves.
But when you pulse microwaves in a certain way, it can cross over into this longitudinal effect.
Pulse that lady or gentleman's brain.
In fact, on a scalar level,
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.
So, but you know, directed energy weapon systems are the choice of the black ops community now. And like I was saying before, what they do is they go and get your garbage in front of your house and get your DNA. And then once they've got your DNA sequence, they can then go to a supercomputer and they can biocode directed energy attacks that will only go and bioresonate with your body. So that three people can be standing right next to you and nobody's going to feel the harassment except you, because these signals are biocoded to your body's tuning only. And then they can send down B2K, they can send down any symptom they want, because they're in full control of the bioresonance of your bioenergy. So and if you look on my website, you can also see the coverage, the satellite coverage. It covers the whole planet.
Right. What about? Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Would you say that that's radionics? That's being used to lock onto our bioresonant frequency and then send distance frequency?
Well, this is specific to your own DNA. So I don't know how that would apply with radionics. Well, this is using supercomputers to modulate microwaves so that they bioresonate with your body.
So it's just a wireless interface, really. Having your frequency and turning you into a transceiver.
In essence.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And the last one is, this could be stupid. First of all, I find it very disheartening that you say they can just go out to your trash, which of course we all put out overnight for the trash man to pick out, that they can get our DNA. So my question is there any way you can fool them from using your DNA as their little, system to find you, like, I don't know, a cat sleeping on your stomach? I mean, some other form of DNA around you to throw them off? Is that a weird question?
No, there's no way that I know of. Just if you want to do the best you can, just take your trash from the bathroom and get rid of it some other way, and not in your trash outside your house.
So there's no way to fool the DNA with some other DNA.
Once they have the DNA, it's done.
Done. Okay. Thank you.
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I mean, the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.
Ну, образ-то ладно. Вы знаете, что биологический материал собирается по всей стране. Причем по разным этносам и людям, проживающим в разных географических точках Российской Федерации. Вот вопрос, вот это зачем делают? Делают целенаправленно и профессионально. Ну, мы такой вот объект очень большого интереса.
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I mean, the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.
Logan, my tolerance for your smoking in the mansion notwithstanding, continue smoking that in here, and you'll spend the rest of your days under the belief that you're a 6-year-old girl.
You'd do that?
I'd have Jean braid your hair. Welcome back.
You want me to leave?
No, just don't move. These lights represent every living person on the planet. The white lights are humans. And these are the mutants. Through Cerebro, I'm connected to them. And they to me. You see, Logan? We're not as alone as you think.
I found the base at Alkali Lake. There was nothing there.
The broken line represents the path of the mutant who attacked the president. I've been finding it difficult to get a lock on him.
Well, can't you just concentrate harder?
If I wanted to kill him, yes. There. Looks like he's finally stopped running.
Ist gebenedeit unter den Frauen und gebenedeit ist die Frucht.
I need you to read my mind again.
Logan. I'm afraid the results will be the same as before.
We had a deal.
The mind is not a box that can be simply unlocked and opened. It's a beehive with a million different
Spare me the
compartments. I have no doubt that your amnesia, your adamantium skeleton, the claws are all somehow connected, but Logan, sometimes the mind needs to discover things for itself. I promise you we'll talk again when I return. Oh, if you will be kind enough to watch over the children tonight. Scott and I are going to visit an old friend.
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I mean, the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.
You, set up a perimeter.
Jason. It's time. Time to find our friends.
Is it time to find our friends?
All of them.
All of them.
All of the mutants.
All the mutants?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's right.
Every one of them?
Oh, yes.
Good.
It's time to bring it to an end. Make me proud.
Just don't move.
Kill anyone who approaches, even if it's me.
Scared the hell out of the military establishment.
I mean, the remote viewers at the CIA and National Security Agency have told me they see them, they're really scared of them.
Anomalous human capabilities.